Okay, so today I've got it, some of my pronunciations might be wrong here, so please correct me, Helen, but I have Helen Trehoret.
Trehoret, yeah, Trehoret, right? Yeah, okay.
Excellent. From Barrachou Paddle? Barrachou Paddle, excellent. So Helen is originally from the UK. She moved to France and started paddling, stand-up paddling 12 years ago. She started her school 3 years ago in Barrachou in Gisseni, is that?
Yeah, Gisseni. Yeah.
Gisseni in the Côte de Légions in North Finistère. I may have got those pronunciations wrong.
North
Finistère.
Finistère.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So her school offers SUP tours and lessons, and Helen likes to SUP foil, very, very popular these days. SUP tour and of course SUP surfing. She also does SUP touring in Scotland, so she'll head up there in September, and she's organising the first ever Wild Women SUP Symposium in Scotland. And the whole kind of, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but the whole kind of thinking behind that is to encourage women to paddle in the wild. So welcome to the ASI podcast, Helen. Thank you for coming. So first of all, I was going to talk a little bit about you and your background. So where did the love of outdoors start for you?
Well, yeah, so basically I've been paddling for about, I think it came from paddling about 15 years ago. Yeah, just started paddling. I found out about it, and then yeah, just grew from there. I started just doing little actually it was sub surfing, and then I just really enjoyed it. I did a bit of kayaking before, but I didn't really find it that accessible, you know, because it just seemed like you needed to do this course, that course, and it was really I didn't really have the time. But yeah, then I just found out about paddleboarding and just boom, it just grew from there. So yeah, I've always been outdoors. I did a geography degree and I'm an oceanographer, so I was always like outside and working in the sea and all that. So yeah, just kind of happened from there. So.
Yeah, fantastic. And it was you moved to France 10 years ago, is that
right?
about
that. I think it was about over 10 years ago. So I was living in Scotland, and then I've got a French husband, and he wanted to come back to France, so I came back with him. So yeah,
fantastic. I went to France quite a lot as a kid. We drive down quite a lot to the south of France, and I was only probably about 14 or 15. They've got some crazy seas, haven't they? I go surfing, and it was such a different environment to Cornwall. I mean, there's some real power there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the southwest. We're quite far from there, so we're quite particular in telling people we're nothing to do with that. It's about 15 hours for us there. We're in sort of Finistère. Yeah, it's quite far. So yeah, it does take us a long time. Well, it's about 12 hours actually to get to the southwest of France. And you're right, I think it is quite different down there. But here in Finistère, we're not really that known. We're quite like the secret spot of France. No one comes here. They get off the ferry and go straight down to Biarritz, straight down to the Vendée or Ardèche or somewhere like that. And yeah, it's nice. There's big long beaches, aren't there, with like waves. But a lot of people. So, and the problem like that I find as well is because there's only one big long beach there. When it gets blown out, it gets blown out. There's nowhere to go, you know. So you just you just kind of go, I can't surf. There is some power in the waves. Yeah, it's good waves. You know, it's nice. Yeah. Don't often go down there though. I'm from Brittany.
Yeah.
We stay in Brittany.
It's a long drive.
yeah. For something that we don't, we're like, well, we have the same here, so we're quite proud around here. So.
Oh, lovely. So just give me, geographically, kind of fill me in. I know a little of France, but just fill me in kind of your location, how that sits.
So do you know where Roscoff is?
Yes, Roscoff? Well, I've heard of Roscoff. I think I've been there.
Do you know where Cornwall is?
Yes.
What opposite Cornwall?
Okay, straight over the English Channel then.
That's right. Just over just literally over. So yeah, we're right opposite. So we're very similar to Cornwall. About 40
Yeah.
years ago, like 40 years ago, Cornwall, they say around here, we don't have the development or the infrastructure here. But I think that's why people don't really come here, because we're not very commercialized, and there's a lot of laws in place to stop that. So
Mhm.
yeah, you're not allowed to develop that much around here. So it means that it's not as commercial as the Vendée, or when there's no waves, there's no go-karting, or what do you do? Don't do anything,
Yeah.
so you do something else. There you go. Yeah.
Excellent.
Brest is our nearest city. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Brilliant. So what drew you then towards setting up your SUP school? So
Yeah.
what was the thinking behind that?
So I'd been paddling for like since about 12 years ago. And then I was getting more and more into it. And then I stopped working offshore. And then I wanted I had to stop working offshore because I had children, a family. My husband does it, so I was like, right, I need to do something else. And I was paddling more and more. I was doing hires more than lessons, and then it just kind of grew from there, sort of organically each year. And then I went back to in France, to be a paddle instructor, you need to have a diploma. I went and did that, and then just because I was out all the time and people were asking me to go with them, I was like, sure. But after a while, I was like, I need to get paid for this. So
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it's
And
just grown from there.
what was it that drew you towards the ASI initially?
Yeah, I was having a look around in the UK, what qualifications were out there, and I just like the setup, and I knew Paul Byrne from before, so it looked like something kind of like I wanted to get into it, and the fact that you've got schools in Europe as well, it's not just centralized in the UK. It's kind of it's kind of attracts me more. That's more a worldwide one, so
Yeah.
we're not in the UK, so
Yeah, and Paul is an amazing guy, isn't he? He's
yeah,
obviously I work quite closely with Paul,
yeah,
but
yeah.
cool. And so now the school, are you busy at the moment? Are you sort of lots of lessons, hires, things like that? What do you tend to sort of
Yeah,
focus on mainly?
so at the moment, the season started in April. I'm a full-time instructor, so I work with a lot of big groups, schools, before the summer holidays. I do high school groups, and I work a lot with the social centres, like in France, because we have so much holiday. About 8 weeks holiday in the summer. So the kids go to a camp. We call it a summer camp, but they're not staying overnight. Just like a local thing they put on, so parents can put their kids into there, because we don't have that much holiday off. Schools are off, but the parents aren't off. So I work with them a lot, and I do like kayak sessions, paddle sessions. And so I do that. That's a part of what I do. And another part I do is I work with just visitors who come, and tourists, and we put on sessions, just to go around a lesson, and then after the lesson we go on a little journey. Not long, because about half an hour, 45 minutes. So sort of do that, a mix and match all through the season. And the season ends about October. So and then I spend October to the next start of the season, preparing the next season. So it's like a rotation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they go so quickly, don't they? I mean, we're
Yeah.
already, practically end of July, aren't we? And then August tends to shoot by, and before you know it, you're sort of almost at the other end of the season, and winter's hit, and you kind of, where did that go?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to have a little break, though, isn't it? When you've been working
Yeah.
all day, every day, you've been on the water a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was going to ask you then about the Wild Women's Symposium. So how did that come about?
So I've been paddling, as I already said, a few years, and every September in March before COVID, I would go to Scotland and I'd go paddling in the wild, just go on the lochs, and I'd go with a friend, and I'd go camping, spend the night, just find new routes. I've been doing it about 6 or 7 years, and I had a plan of like growing it into something like maybe a commercial interest, but because of COVID, it didn't really take off. And a lot of other people are doing it now, which is cool. It's all good. So from that, I was like, what can I do that would be a bit more? I don't really want to drag people around a lot. I want actually, particularly women, to get a bit of ownership in their own journey, to plan something for them, not to rely on other people for their, just go, right, I'm going to go and paddle there, and I'm going to camp, and I am capable of doing it. They know the safety, they know how to plan a journey, they know it all, and it doesn't have to be 20 kilometers, it could just be like a kilometer. But there's something that I want to try and promote in women, just to try and get them to think that they can do it, because if I can do it, I'm nothing special. I'm just an ordinary woman, really, but I just have perhaps more confidence in planning something like that. And it's through trial and error most of the time. I've been a few places and it's gone wrong, but and it's also gone really right. So I want to try and teach that to other women so they can go and do it themselves, and or maybe come to the group and meet women and meet friends, or make friends, and maybe go on a journey, do something together, that I want to go here, but I'm not sure, would you come with me? And then something like that kind of would be really, that's what I want to try and get. Also, a thing that does winds me up a little bit is when I see these journeys, these holidays for women. Often the instructor is a man, and for me, it's just not how I want. I don't. Maybe there's a reason, but for me, it doesn't make sense. But so it's like it came from that. It's like why do we as women advertise, let's get together for women, and then you turn up and there's a man there going, come on, ladies. I know that men, we're all capable, but sometimes you just need a woman leading a woman. It's all good, man leading a woman, but
no, absolutely. I think
yeah,
you've got a really good point. I love the idea. It sounds fantastic. It's a really empowering thing, isn't it, for a man, a woman, whatever, to go and do that. And I think certainly a SUP tour and a bit of a SUP adventure lends itself to it. Interestingly enough, I probably find that more women are coming for lessons at our SUP school, because I think there's a bit of a willingness to learn. Quite often a guy will be like, no, I don't need to learn how to paddleboard.
Well, no men beginner paddlers.
We think we all know it.
Well, it's so when I do a lot of other paddling, and when we advertise levels, we don't use the word advanced. We only use the word intermediate paddlers, because everyone will put themselves in the advanced. And like when I talk about advanced, for me, advanced is elite. You're doing 20, 25, 30 kilometers downwinds, in proper wind, 25 knots, so if you're like, that's for me advanced. So then I'm advanced, I'm like, no, I don't know if you are. So, for that reason, I've seen it myself. There's a lot of just intermediate men, beginner women. I don't know why that concept happens, but it happens in France too, so, it's still
interesting.
Male thing.
Interesting. It's not sort of to one country. I bet if you talk to in any country, you'd probably find a similar format. And I do think it's almost that kind of a bit of a bravado thing with guys. Not all of them, of course, but some of them where it's like, I don't need to learn. I can do this already. It looks really easy. Paddleboarding in itself can be quite. People kind of underestimate it, don't they? They sort of think, I just get on the board with a paddle and off I go. But even paddling a couple of kilometers can be quite challenging.
It's all good when it goes right.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? So have you actually run one of the symposium sessions yet,
No,
or is this to
this is the
start?
first.
Or
So this is the first one post-COVID. Yes, the 17th, 18th of September. We're in Cannock.
yeah,
The ASI are going to help us with a bit of with a bit of sponsorship to grow it.
fantastic.
There's going to be good. We've got 4 women there. 4 really. I'm the 5th, but the other 4 are really good paddlers, like good, strong paddlers. We've got one, Sam, Sam, my good friend Sam, who I can't remember her name, that's her name. She's just she just paddled from Ireland to Scotland non-stop. I was only it was
Ah,
only
yes, Sam
it was
Rutt.
only Sam Rutt, that's it. My good friend Sam Rutt. Very good. I can only took say 40 k's. About 40 k's.
Easy. Yeah.
Oh, I did 130 the other day. No, and no, I'm winding her up. This is for her. I like to wind her up a lot. And we've got 2 other girls who are into whitewater sipping, which is quite a big thing in Scotland. And then another who is into fitness paddling, and then myself, but I'm more sort of the organizer. So yeah, so it's the first one. We've got like 20 women signed up so far, so it's a
Oh,
goer.
brilliant.
Yeah, just there's space for other people's. So we're just waiting for see what happens. Very open-minded about the first one. We say in France, like, things are like a pancake. The first one's always a bit, and the second one is perfect.
That's totally right. Absolutely bang on the money. So what can you expect? So from this first event, what's the kind of plan? Obviously, I know it's in Scotland, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is it a couple of days? Is it like an
yeah.
overnight thing?
It's sort of Friday to arrivals Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. The day Saturday, Sunday is divided into 2 sessions, so you can choose which workshop you want to do. And then the evening we have a barbecue, is very important, and then we have a film by Kat. I'm really bad with names. Who's done a lot of paddling solo around Scotland. I met
Yeah.
her about 8 years ago in a sup surf competition. I don't think she sup surfs anymore. She does more kind of awareness for pollution and all that, but she still paddles a lot. I'm so bad with names. I'm getting old, so I'm not. Again. Yeah. So and then the Sunday is the same thing. And then then there's an opportunity Monday, Tuesday to go on a bit of a to use your skills and go on a bit of a journey together. So yeah, that's the plan. Yeah,
It sounds brilliant. And when is it? What's the dates?
It's the 17th and 18th of September. God, I hope it's that. Like, I'm gonna, so many dates in my head. Like I'm sure. Um, yeah.
And what location? Whereabouts in Scotland?
It's in Cannock, so it's about 14 kilometers from Inverness. So when
Yeah.
you come down the Loch Ness, going down the Loch Ness on the west side, there are many glens, 1 glen, 2 glens. So there's kind of glens that run into the Loch Ness, and it's just a glen in there. So you fly into Inverness, and then it's like 40, maybe an hour's drive from Inverness. Quite accessible, but instantly you're quite lost quite quickly. But that's Scotland, isn't it? So you go
Yeah.
that, and then boom, you're in the mountains. So yeah, it's not far at all.
Yeah, and that's the appeal. That's part of the appeal, isn't it? Is being completely in the outdoors. No mobile phones, no social media, just kind of you and the environment, and just a little bit of probably a reset for people as well. But no, that sounds fantastic. I shall keep my eyes out for how it goes. But best of luck with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're into your winging and your foiling,
Yeah.
a pretty newish area of the
Yes.
sport, but definitely one that's taken up massively. How did you get into that?
So where I live in North Finisterre, we have a lot of wind, like a lot. Barrachou means the windy place, and it's just kind of kind of taken off. You know, people who were like doing a lot of sepping were like, "I'm going to try wing foiling." You know, "Ah, if you're going to try it, I'm going to try it. So everyone just started trying it, and then boom, it just sort of happens. You know, so when the surfing's not on for sup surfing, we just go wing foiling. So and it's a perfect spot around here. So we have a lot of side wind, so side shore wind, and perfect conditions, flat water. Yeah, and the wind often comes from different directions. And yeah, the subfoiling as well. It's not as popular as wing foil because it's a lot more difficult. So I mean,
Yeah,
I'm nowhere near like where like there's a lot of people in my area who are really quite good. You know, I'm really pushing the limits. I'm not at that level. Well, one day maybe I would like to do a downwind on a subfoil, but it's a question of time, right? So many things to do
yeah.
in so little time. So. Um,
That's always the case. Something I've still got to try. I've had a go at winging, but every time I've done
yeah.
it, the wind's just not been good enough.
Oh
So
yeah,
I've
if
just
it's
kind of been
not
stood
strong enough.
there. Yeah, just stood there holding it, thinking, and then a little gust will
Oh
come along, and
no,
I'll kind of move a
no,
little bit,
I'm
and then
actually
my
really
arms
quite.
get knackered.
They're like, oh, it's quite
Yeah,
sore. Yeah, hold it. Yeah, yeah. You need a good wind, don't you? There's something over
yeah,
12, 13, maybe 15 knots to begin with. Yeah, not too much though. Sometimes it's too much. You know, you're like, oh, whoa.
Woof, you're off.
Yeah. That was too much. So yeah, to find
And
that. Yeah.
yeah, and it's I mean, it's like I said, it's a really kind of big area now, and it does seem to
Mm,
be, I think, well, excuse the pun, but taking off
mm,
massively.
yeah.
It seems, Facebook groups are popping up and things like that.
Yeah.
How do you see that developing? Do you think it will get to the kind of um, uh, point that paddleboarding has, where
Yeah, I
paddle
think so.
very, very
Yeah.
mainstream?
I think
Yeah,
it's because it's so accessible, isn't it? So it's so easy.
yeah,
Because before it's like windsurfing and kites, so you have to kind of rig all your stuff up. But like wing, you just like kind of pump it up a little bit, and then you just take your board and you go. And it's quite
yeah,
accessible, I think, and it's not that expensive. You only need your board and your wing. You can afterwards you can play around with your foil length, you can do that. But essentially at the beginning, it is quite basic. I think that's why it's grown up so much. That's why it's exploded because it is accessible and it's fun. Like once you get the first sensation of flying, and you're like, wow, that was good, and you want it more. Like a bit of a drug, isn't it? It's like, oh, I want
yeah.
to do it again and again. So yeah, I think it will continue. It'll certainly overtake kiting and windsurfing. Yeah, just all these new things. I don't think it's a fad, but hey, they said it was supping was a fad like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fad. And then, so, you know,
Yeah, that's the thing, is it was like paddleboarding. Oh, it's a bit of a novelty. It'll wear
yeah,
off. It'll disappear,
yeah,
and it does. I mean, at first with winging and falling, I thought, okay, it's only ever going to be, if there's wind or there's no waves or something like that, people are just going to crack out the wing if they've got it hanging around. But it
yeah,
seems to be kind of finding its own feet and becoming a sport in its own right. So, in another few years' time, it's going to be interesting to see where it's going to be, because I think, like you say, it's still going to be here. It's not going to disappear. And quite a lot of people I speak to that do wing and foil, exactly like you said, it's a real addiction. It's like that first time, you catch a wave on your surfboard,
yeah,
and you feel the one thing that I loved and missed, because obviously I live in the middle of the country, was the sound of the board gliding
yeah.
and the kind of the
That
little
you can make that.
chattering.
Yeah, that noise you make.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I loved hearing that, because you're on the wave and you were moving and you were gliding across.
yeah,
And then I got that back, on a paddleboard when I was paddling the board, and I could hear it. And still now, every time I go out on a board, it's that sound that I really, really like.
yeah, yeah,
And I imagine it's the same sort of addiction to when you get your first proper
yeah,
wing session or your foil session.
yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely here to stay, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and it's fun. That's what's important. And it's not that dangerous as well.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this. I'm like, you know, I tell everyone, like, you only fall bad once, you know.
Yeah.
You know? And you
Yeah, you
never
learn
do it
quick.
again, you know, because you know, I'm not falling that way again. You know, it takes a one bad fall, and afterwards you're like, no, I'm not falling like that. You know, it's not that, not as dangerous as, I don't know. I played hockey, you know, see more injuries in
Yeah,
hockey, you know.
yeah.
So
And I think people that are doing that kind of know, you know, the conditions and stuff already. They're aware of
yeah,
tide and wind, and
yeah,
where I think with paddleboarding, what tends to happen is you'll get people that know nothing, like literally
yeah,
nothing, and are
and then
getting
just
out
go.
there. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see that a lot. Yeah, you always see it all on the news reports. You know, people getting blown away, but I don't know what to say to people. You know, I advise, I give them a lesson. Obviously, when they come to me, it's not just, you know. I always say to them, right, this is your lesson now. You're not obviously going to come back with me because often they live somewhere else. But when you do go, these are the things that you need to remember, and it's not a joke. You know, I'm quite a jovial
yeah,
person, but you know, there's some things I'm like, it's not funny. It's not funny. You know, the wind is like your enemy. I'm like, wind is enemy. So, you
yeah,
know,
and
and
it can be,
and for that reason, I think as a business owner, I think for me, I get calls all the time. Can I hire boards? I don't really do hire, but when I do,
mm,
I will say no. You literally can't go out. Like, it's not possible. My limit. These are my limits. After that, I'm sorry, it's too windy, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'll phone somewhere else." And I'm like, "On you go," but hopefully they'll say the same thing. You know, so
yeah. Hopefully, I think some
yeah,
people don't, but I mean,
yeah,
obviously, you're doing absolutely the right thing there, aren't you?
yeah.
It's that they don't know, they don't understand what's going to
Yeah,
happen. They just want to board and they want to go out. So
yeah,
we've got quite a job on our hands, haven't we, as
yeah,
kind of responsible business owners.
exactly. Yeah,
Unfortunately, there are going to be other people that would, you know, take the money and let
yeah.
them out, and that's one of the battles that's going on
Well,
at the moment. I think
it's,
everywhere, really.
yeah, and also it's my reputation. You know, I care
Yeah,
a lot about my reputation as a business owner and a waterwoman, if I can call myself that. It means a lot to me, and I will say,
yeah,
I don't. I mean, I literally don't want to take 30 or 40 euros off someone, and I'm like, I don't need it. You know, like I just, you
yeah,
know. And for that reason, you've got to have the confidence to counsel. You know, just go. It's not on. You know, it
yeah.
takes. Just,
And it
you're
can be
not.
difficult.
Yeah, I think so, but I'm all right with it because I'm just like, oh, I look out and I'm like, that is not happening. You know, so
Yeah.
you know,
I
because
suppose you know, don't you, what the you know what could happen. So it's
yeah,
not they
yeah,
might be a little bit annoyed, but I'd rather that than, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
somebody gets hurt or worse. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I wouldn't want my name in the local paper. You know, that's what I don't want. You know, because everyone knows
Yeah.
me. So,
Nobody wants that. So okay, brilliant. So what would you say is the best thing about your job?
uh, the best thing I think is meeting people. I meet a lot of different people from a variation of places and nationalities, and it's nice when we're all kind of vibing along and we're getting on and we're finding out about each other. I kind of like that. It's a nice feeling, and sometimes just to get out and the conditions are really great, and we like have a look at the sea life, and it's just you're really in it. I kind of really like that part. So that's the good part. I like that.
Yeah. I
It's
I definitely agree with that.
you know when it's all going well. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not so much fun when it's a bit wet and windy and you know, people are a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah.
cold and stuff
Well,
like
yeah, yeah. Well, I just wear a cap, you know, because of the water that goes off.
that. Let the rain run off the top of
Yeah,
it.
that's what I say to them. Just wear a cap, and you get the water in your eyes. So
I'm gonna take that advice. The next time it's raining and I'm paddling, I'm gonna put a cap
you just
on.
always wear a cap, you know.
Yeah,
So,
just let it wash off.
and the other thing I
Okay,
do
lovely.
is I make people get wet first. I'm like, go and get wet.
Yeah,
You're already
yeah.
wet. So you
Yes,
know,
it doesn't matter. I always say that as well. It's only rain. It's a water sport. You'll be
yeah,
fine.
yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, some of them are a little bit wary about getting wet, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the plans for the future? So
Just yeah.
where do you see things going?
Just kind of growing my business a bit more. I do a lot of I've got a lot of tours coming from the UK. Something that I want to continue. I work with a company that bring over British paddlers. I want to continue doing that. I did one this year, so hopefully we'll do 3 or 4 next year. Yeah, I want to work more with ASI. Hopefully, I'm going to become a trainer of the trainers in the future. Well, that's my plan. I think Finisterre is an ideal place to come and learn to be a trainer. We've got everything, enclosed water, not enclosed water, wind, yeah, that's what I want to do. Just keep on growing it bit by bit. Just steadily grow. Yes, growth. That's what I want.
Best way.
Yeah, just it's starting to get a bit bigger each year, but not uncontrollable. So I don't think I will go as big as to get other people on board, but I'm okay just being by myself. It's okay like that for me. So yeah, that's what I want to do, and keep on paddling. Yes.
Yeah, of course. That goes without saying, doesn't it?
Let's just keep on
All
pushing the
right.
limits. So yeah,
Super duper. Well, Helen, thank you very
yeah,
much for sharing a bit of your time and a bit of your life with us.
yeah, sweet.
I shall keep my eyes and ears out for the symposium.
Yeah,
And I'd be keen actually to see if we can get some of our paddlers over from Central Sup to do some of your tours. Maybe I think they'd quite enjoy that.
yeah.
So
Honestly, like
I'll have
even
to.
if yeah, you have to get them to come over because even if it's maybe they got a good level, maybe they want to do some downwinding, technical racing, whatever they want to do, I'll find it for them, or they just want to take it
Sounds
easy
good.
and just go. I did a tour and like we stay over a night in a bothy kind of thing on an island, and it's quite rustic, but I mean it's
Oh
amazing.
wow,
It's only like 3 kilometers from here, so just down the road.
that is brilliant. That
I'm like,
sounds such fun.
you can go and come back and for breakfast tomorrow. If you forget something, you'll be like, a strong paddler can go and get
Yeah,
it.
I forgot my toothbrush. Yeah, I'll be back in
Yeah,
20 minutes.
yeah, like because it's just like Scotland, you can be right out of the way. And like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
Central
sounds
stuff.
good.
Get them to come over. They'll enjoy it.
All
So
right,
that's all right.
fantastic.
Coventry.
So I'll end the podcast here, but if you stay
Yeah,
on the line for a couple of seconds after, so I'm just going
yeah.
to stop the recording.
All right. See you later.